We're talking about the negativity bias today, what it is, why we have it, and what we can do to manage our own inherent negativity bias. This is part of the current series here on this channel, which is looking at ways we can prime our brains to live a more healthy and positive life. And we're looking every week at a different aspect that can help us to really prime our brains, help us to live a more healthy and positive life, help us to manage negative thoughts, or help us to manage any negative pathways that we might already have in our minds and in our lives. So this is the second video in this series. Last week we looked at mindful habits. Today we're looking at the negativity bias. And next week we're going to be looking much more in depth around reframing, the science of reframing, and some practical examples of how reframing can help you to live a more positive life. So if you like these sorts of videos and if that sounds like your kind of thing, please do subscribe. I would really appreciate that. And let's get started. So the negativity bias is something that we inherently have in our lives. It is a default pathway in our brains, and it's more of an evolutionary pathway that's remained with us, which is not really well adapted to modern life. So the negativity bias basically helps us to stay safe. Our brains always want us to stay safe, and will do whatever it takes to keep us safe. That's the primary default mode, is safety. The negativity bias is something that we have evolved to have. You will be able to see more potential risk outcomes, and the more risk you can see, the more likely you are to be able to avoid it. So if you can avoid it, then you are theoretically keeping yourself safe. And that's how our brain has evolved, to keep us safe no matter what. So we will default to a pattern that will help us to remember things that will keep us safe. So if we're cavemen and we are walking, trying to hunt and gather, and if we identify something that could be a threat, then our brain is primed and wired to remember that as a potential threat. Rather than all of the other positive things or other things that go on a daily basis, the brain will remember those things because they would be the ones that would potentially be able to keep us safe. So if you walk past the same exposure again, or the same threat again, your brain will naturally remember that this is a threatening situation and will help to manage your behaviour so that you can respond to that risk accordingly. But this is not very well adapted to the situation that we live in and the situation we find ourselves in modern life today, because it means that we can often end up ruminating on negative things, and we can often only remember the negative aspects of our day or of a particular situation. So this might be something that's really common to you, something that's really common to all of us without realising it. And a couple of really common examples that you'll see in the literature are things like professional development reviews, or kind of one-to-ones with senior management and that kind of thing. If you are given a whole host of things that you do really well, you will remember the things that are highlighted to you that maybe you don't do as well. Or if you have a performance and you're giving a performance and you get tons of positive feedback and everyone's saying you did great, that was really excellent, and you might get a couple of really negative reviews, it's the negative reviews that you will remember the most. And this is due to the negativity bias. This is because we are primed to remember things that theoretically will keep us safe. So we need ways of managing this and making sure that we can take some control and ownership over our own thought patterns before we get to the stage where we're ruminating, or we've allowed a couple of negative comments to really ruin our day or our experience of a particular situation. So what do we do to overcome our negativity bias? Well, the first thing we need to do is to be aware of it. So if you're getting caught in these negative thought pathways, you need to really take an objective look at those and say, well, actually, is this as bad as I seem to think it is? Is it actually this bad? Has my day at work really been that awful? Has my experience of XYZ really been that bad? So you need to really become aware of your thought patterns and then question them. Is that really true? Am I feeling bad and feeling a bit miserable because of my review with my boss because it was awful? or have I just honed in on those negative points when really there was a whole host of positive feedback too? So the first step is really to be aware and to make sure that we have that awareness of the negativity bias so that we can start to actually question it and say, well, is this the reality that I'm experiencing right now? The next thing we can do is to gratitude journal. So this might be where you have a morning ritual, some kind of morning routine where you'll take a little bit of time out and you'll start your day practicing gratitude. Just writing down all the things that you are really grateful for, all the things that you are really happy that you've done or that you have in your life or that you're going to do. And writing it down is really helpful too, because writing can encode that information so that it basically helps your brain to remember it more. So if you write something down, you're helping your brain to really consolidate that positive imagery into your brain. So if you can prime your brain, at the start of the day is great, but even if you can't do it at the start, the end is also good. So if you can really prime your brain to be thankful for all the things, and if you can take some time to consciously appreciate that, then you are consciously trying to manage your inherent negativity bias. And then the third thing that would really help with this is mindfulness. To be really, really fully present and immersed in your day and in your moment. So when you are spending time with your family, try and fully absorb that. Try and really fully be present and try and really experience what's happening in front of you. Pay really close attention. Remember the small details. Pay attention to the noises and the smells. Really be fully present and spend that mind space just absorbing what's in front of you, enjoying your dog, enjoying your family, enjoying your garden, whatever it is. Really being consciously mindful in the moment will help you to realign that negativity bias and focus more on what's positive and what you're grateful for. And this will instantly uplift you. This will really help you to raise your mood and to feel better and to feel more positive about life. It also helps you to feel more motivated. There's a lot of science around how gratitude journaling and using journaling as an opportunity to raise the mood has actually helped in athletic performance. So there is lots of benefits aside from readdressing our negativity bias that can really help us to feel more positive and experience a more positive and mindful day. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying this series. This is only the second episode. Like I said, next week we are focusing on reframing techniques and the science of reframing. So please do subscribe back for that next Friday. And I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.